Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back. It's Jordan here. I wanted to have a serious talk with you. It's nothing too serious, but I just wanted to talk to some peeps while I'm building these really funky roads here. Holy cow. Like, what do we got going on here? It's a big mess. This is actually going to be a curved road that's going to go by the boardwalk. There's modular buildings right here. I think like the pet shop and a couple other things, and then there's the stairs that go up to the higher part of the boardwalk, and it turns the corner and goes in front of the Natural History Museum and all that. And this used to be a straight road, but then I was like, oh, it no longer needs to be a straight road, it needs to be a curve, because we're no longer going to have that bridge that's going over top of the canal. And then there's a 16 by 32 in front of it that wasn't developed, and it needed to be a road plate that's 16 by 32 studs, and it needs a bicycle lane on one side. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can have a little conversation with everybody here while I try to build these roads. Could I have selected an easier build for a talking update? Yeah, I probably could have, because roads are a bit tricky. But I have prefabbed some elements here because I knew I would be running back and forth to the parts 100 times to try and make this work. So the first thing I made was this little curved piece right here. And that's just with the 8 by 16 non-zebra, 8 by 16 zebra, 16 by 16 road plate. I am all out of these, the non-zebras, which is unfortunate. I do need more of those, but I just put some plates on the bottom of it because all my roads are lifted up off the base plate by one plate. Looks like I need an additional one right there. Doesn't really matter how much or how little you put under there. The vehicles don't weigh metric tons, you know. They're not actually heavy, so that should be good. And the next thing I constructed were these little extenders right here. That's what I'm going to call them, the dark bluish gray and white extenders. Hopefully my camera focuses. Yeah, those are for the curves. You can see the funky design I did there with the 1x3, 1x1s, and 1x2s, and white and dark bluish gray. And these have the 1x2 plates, and also the 1x2 Technic bricks, and that's going to lock them into position, and that'll run underneath the sidewalk. So those aren't going to slide out on us when we go to place it or anything, because that's sort of a nuisance. And yeah, we'll do the same on the other side, and we'll make sure we have it flipped the right way so those line up. And that's going to start producing our pixelated curved line. Now that's on the outside. We've got to do the same thing on the inside. So we're going to do this, and we're going to place that. And here, I've done other road tutorials on the Brixie channel, but my main thing today is I wanted to talk to you, like I wanted to get real for a moment. Get real about it. There we go. That's the inside curve though. Not bad. What I should do is make sure we're recording. Could you imagine if I did this whole thing and it wasn't recording or my mic wasn't turned on? Oh my gosh. I've had that happen before, and it does not feel good. Not feel good whatsoever. So now I just need to like build up my sidewalk. Generally speaking, I always do light gray around the border, because of course that's the sidewalk that's going to be exposed, and then the interior studs doesn't really matter. That's going to be plate, unless it's like on the edge of a table or something, then it sort of matters, but in this case it doesn't really matter. So we can sort of fill this in with whatever we want. This road plate, I can tell, has been through a lot. It is a hodgepodge of pieces that does not need to be a hodgepodge. But sometimes, to save time, I really don't put too much into it from a saving parts perspective. Now, what did I want to talk to you about today? Well, I wanted to get real about a certain topic, and it involves mental health, which is just so important. I think as a public figure, a public minifigure, I might sometimes, you know, this might sometimes be overlooked for like YouTubers and stuff like that, but I think our job is like very mentally taxing sometimes. Not really like I'm fine. I want to get that through. I'm fine right now. But what's really been challenging for me as of late is finding the right 2x plate to fill in this sidewalk. It has just been a nuisance. I'm just kidding. But what's been more mentally taxing for me as of late, ever since September, it wasn't too bad, but as I approach the end of October here, it's sort of gotten worse. And that is the fact that I'm actually like pretty lonely. Yeah, I'm a lonely fellow lately. And I think the reason is because I literally spend all day alone. And sometimes that can be like, sometimes it's 12 hours. Sometimes it's even more than that. Sometimes it's like 14 hours if I feel like being an absolute madman and working till the bitter end of the day. And that can sometimes just be like mentally taxing. Just being alone in pretty much solitude all day. And of course, it's my choice. I come to work. It's not really my choice. I sort of have to be. Well, it was my choice because I moved my workplace from my house to here. And when I was at my house, I could very easily just walk upstairs and say, hey, kids, how you doing? Hey, Jose, how you doing? You know, now I don't really have that option. So I'm here like all day on my own. And it gets lonely. One person or a person can only listen to audiobooks or music for so long. That can only keep me entertained for so long. So I get lonely. And it's sort of a bummer. Why did it get harder for me? I didn't even address that. Why did it get harder for me here in the month of October? Well, I used to have Simon, and Simon would come to work twice a week. So at least I'd be here twice a week with Simon, and then I would be lucky enough to work with Jose probably once a week as well. So 3 of the 7 days I was always with somebody, I was talking with somebody. And even from a Lego circumstance, I think it's important to work with people because it sort of inspires creativity when you have more minds involved, especially when you're like building a Lego city. For example, today my task is to place minifigures. Great, that's amazing. Placing minifigures is awesome. That's how we tell stories in a Lego city. Who wouldn't want to do that? But every time I've done that in the past, it's always been Mrs. Brixie and I. We've always done it together, which I think is the way to place minifigures. It's a lot more fun. You're like, hey, come look at the story I did over here. Oh, look, this guy's backing his car up and he smashed into somebody and I made this funny story. Oh, that's awesome. That's a great idea. I'm going to do something similar like that over here. And then, you know, you sort of bounce ideas off each other. You have more fun with it. And it just becomes more of like a bonding activity. And I think that's what, for the most part, like, well, not for the most part, but I think Lego can be like that, where it's really fun to bond with people and build together. For example, when Mrs. Brixie and I were building the zoo together, or Simon and I were building whatever, anything that we built together over the years, I think is sort of cool because you have that other person to sort of bounce those ideas off. But as of late, I haven't really had that. And I've been sort of like here alone, stuck in my own thoughts, which is, once again, it becomes taxing. Sure, doing it for a week, not a big deal. But doing it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, it's like, oh my gosh, I spend so much time alone. And it's funny because I was talking to my brother, and my brother is like, really, he's a person that's really energetic, really likes to host conversations. Me, I'm more so like an introverted person, but he's the type of person that's like always needs to be with somebody and always needs to be like talking to people and all that. So he's like, yeah, man, like, I don't know how you do it. I would not be able to do your job. I could not sit there alone all day. Like he, for example, he's in sales and he'll be talking to people all day. And then on his way home from work, he'll call somebody. He'll call me and be like, hey, how you doing? Just calling you on the way. Like every single time, no matter what, he'll always talk to people because he can't not talk to people. Whereas me, I'm sitting here like alone all day. And I think that's why I actually call Mrs. Brixie probably like, I don't know. I probably call her like 3, maybe even 4 times a day. Not to say anything, just to, hey, how you doing? And she's like, why are you calling me? You called me like an hour ago. Why are you calling me again? Like, what's up? Nothing. Just calling to talk. How are the kids? Ask the same questions. Did they nap? How are their naps? What's going on? Did they eat? What'd they eat? You know, just like try to just like find things to talk about because I'm just like sitting here all on my own. And I think that's one of the reasons why in my videos I get accused of talking a lot. It's like, yeah, you know why I talk a lot? Because I'm sitting here just basking in my own thoughts all day. It's just me, just sitting here thinking about stuff, reading the odd comment, thinking about it, stewing on it. What am I gonna do here? What's going on next? Okay, what's the next video I'm gonna make? What am I gonna work on? This, that, and the other, right? So yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why I talk a lot in my videos is because I literally don't talk to anyone else all day. I talk to you here through my video camera, which is pretty astounding if you ask me. pretty strange, I guess. If you were an alien looking down at me and just saw me talking to myself all day, oh my gosh, wouldn't that look weird? You didn't know what a video camera was? There's a thought. I also, I find it sometimes very hard to focus on my work when I don't have another individual here, for the simple fact that, once again, when you're working in a pair, it's a lot easier to get motivated and to stay motivated just because you're getting more done. It's more efficient. And I find it a little bit more enjoyable, especially when you're doing like very repetitive tasks. When you're building a set, sure, you could build that in solitude on your own. But when you're sitting here and you're building 10 of these roads and it's a repetitive task and you're making a big mess, it is nice to have a helping hand here to help you build these roads or put the parts away or build this mountain or whatever it may be. And there's other YouTube channels out there, specifically Brickcraft. He's got an incredible Lego city. Everyone asks me, do you watch Brickcraft? It's like, of course I know of Brickcraft. You should see his city. I know. I've seen Brickcraft City. Of course I have. How have I not? That's like what I do for a living. How have I not looked at that? Of course I have. But Brickcraft, incredible builder, and he's got an incredible team of people, and there's a team of them that work together on that, which is pretty cool. And I think that's probably one of the solutions to my problem is having a team here. Not only will that streamline everything, but it'll also help me mentally that I'm not sitting here on my own all day, 7 days a week, all lonely, right? So I think having a team here will be extremely beneficial. And now I'm going to bring up Mrs. Brixie. So Mrs. Brixie, those are my sort of one of my mental battles right now, is the fact that I'm a little bit lonely. And Mrs. Brixie is a stay-at-home mom right now. So she is with the children. Imagine this, okay? She is with Millie and Benjamin, who we both love dearly. Don't mistake anything that I'm going to say to think otherwise, okay? Don't think that we don't love our children, because that's not right. Of course we do. Love our children. They're amazing. They're the most important thing in the world, period. Okay, so imagine Mrs. Brixie, though. Kids are up at 7 a.m. I'm there generally from 7. I might leave at 9. Sometimes I might leave at 11. If I leave at 11 or 12, generally speaking, I'm here till about 9 at night to try and get the work done for the day. If I leave at 9 or in the morning, then generally I'll try to be home at around 5 or 6, sometimes pushing 7, because I've got a lot of stuff to do, and there's only one person doing it. So Mrs. Brixie will be alone with the kids pretty much from morning until night. And we're talking 7 days a week. So from 7 in the morning till 7:30 at night, she is helping with children. And of course, when I'm there, I help. I do whatever I possibly can to help, whatever it may be. Changing diapers, feeding them, doing the dishes, cleaning up after them, reading them books, interacting with them. I do that as much as I can while keeping this operation afloat. So Mrs. Brixie is with the kids a lot. That's what she is. She's a stay-home mom, right? Stay-at-home mom. While I'm here, she's staying at home with the kids. Now, in my opinion, and not everybody is going to have this opinion, but in my opinion, that takes a special type of someone. Because kids are like the Energizer Bunny. Kids have unlimited energy. They do not stop. They go and they go and they go and they go. And the thing is with kids is when they're not going, when they're exhausted because all they've been doing is going, they don't stop going. It just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's when they start having like meltdowns and stuff, right? Because kids they're not adults, right? They don't know how to handle their emotions. They don't know how to handle all of these different things. So what I'm saying is kids are a never-ending task, especially when they start getting a little bit older into the toddler phase, and then they refuse to nap. And when they start to refuse to nap, well, then they're really tired. So they become harder and harder and harder to handle. And it's not like you can, no one would ever do this, but it's not like you can just treat it like a dog and say, okay, I'm going to put this dog in a kennel and it's going to go to sleep or whatever it may be. No, you can't do that to your little tiny humans. You've got to nurture them the entire time. And to me, that is plain and simple, physically and mentally exhausting more than anything that I have ever done, period. No question about it. And Mrs. Brixie has been doing it for 2 years straight. In my opinion, she is an absolute warrior, and not a lot of people could do that for 7 days a week. It is, I'm going to use the term relentless because it sort of is, but it's also you're doing it for the tiny humans that you dearly love and will love forever. But it takes a special kind of human, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean that in a very positive way, to deal with something like that 7 days a week, 365. It is exhausting. I simply can't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it for more than, I simply wouldn't be able to do it for a day. Oh, I could do it for a day, but I wouldn't be able to do it for more than a day. Of course, I could do it, but I would rather, unfortunately, choose not to do that 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I think the majority of parents, if you're a parent, you probably know, would probably agree with what I'm saying. Unless you're part of that niche group that can deal with those things day in and day out. That's why daycares exist. Sometimes daycare the cost of putting a kid in daycare almost equals your salary. But people would rather work than do the task of being with their kids 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And that's why Mrs. Brixie, one of the reasons why Mrs. Brixie and I have decided that we are moving forward with putting our kids in daycare. We're not doing it in a negative way, but we're doing it in a very positive way. And here's the things that I think are going to be very positive about this and how it's actually going to impact the time that we spend with our children in a positive way, and also help me with my struggle here of being lonely. So first off, our plan is to reallocate Mrs. Brixie's time once we put the kids in daycare. So our plan is to put our kids in daycare up to 5 days a week. Probably not 5 days a week, that's pretty extreme. We can put them in there from like 7 until 6 p.m. if we truly wanted to, because that's what full-time daycare implies. That's 7 a.m. till 6 p.m., 5 days a week, which is a lot. There's no way that we will ever put our kids in daycare for that amount of time. That is way too much. But we want to do it for probably 3 or 4 days a week. Probably going to drop them off at around 9 so that we can still have breakfast with our kids. I'm not going to drop them off at 7. We have the flexibility not to do that. Probably drop them off around 9 so we can spend the morning with them, 7 until 9, have breakfast with them, hang out with them for a bit and say, okay, we're going to drop you off to daycare, and then go drop them off at daycare. And then we'll probably pick them up either at 3 or 5, one of the two, 3 or 4 days a week. And I think that's good because we're going to see our kids from 3 or 5 until 7 o'clock when they go to bed. And we're also going to see them in the morning for 3 or 4 days a week, not 5 days a week. So we're going to have lots of quality time with our kids in the morning and in the night before they go to sleep. And it's also going to teach our kids how to interact with other children, which I think is very important. It's going to teach them how to interact with teachers, which is very important because at daycare they're going to teach them other things that we wouldn't think to teach them because they're professional educators. That's literally what daycare is. It's people that have been trained in educating kids. So I think it's going to be very beneficial because it's going to teach them a lot and give them a different perspective in life. And it's also going to free up Mrs. Brixie time. Because what are we going to do with Mrs. Brixie's time once our kids are actually working to the system and everybody's comfortable? Well, that's going to allow us to give probably Mrs. Brixie a day off. That's probably important for her. Also, it's going to allow her to come to work probably 3 days a week here because my mom, that's the kid's grandmom or grandmother, is willing to look after the kids 1 day a week as well. So we're pretty much going to have 4 or 5 days of freedom away from the kiddos. And that's going to allow Mrs. Brixie to come here 3 or 4 days a week as well. And that's going to allow Brixie, that's the business, and me to get ahead so that I don't have to work as much, freeing up more of my time so that I can spend more quality time with my kids. Because the kids aren't going to go to daycare on the weekend, only during the week. So what we can do now is we can take the weekends because we're further ahead with the business and Mrs. Brixie's done all of her stuff during the week. She's gone grocery shopping without the kids. She's done the laundry without having to deal with the kids. She's done all these different things without having to deal with the kids. And I've come home and undistracted, I've mowed the lawn or I've shoveled the thing and shoveled the sidewalk or whatever it may be. So we've got all our tasks done during the week because we have more free time, and we've gotten ahead with the business because we have more free time. So now we can spend high quality time with our kids on the weekends, like it's supposed to be. And this is going to solve my problem because now I'm no longer going to be like so lonely here at the studio all alone, sort of having like this mental battle with myself. What should I do today? Oh, the last 5 times we've populated the Lego city, I've done it with Mrs. Brixie. It sure would be nice if she was here doing this with me. Oh man, I miss those times. I miss those good old days of us doing that together. So it's going to help me mentally. It's also going to help Mrs. Brixie mentally because she doesn't have the kids 7 days a week, you know. So I think there's going to be a lot of positives from sending them to daycare, and I think it's going to be incredible. I mentioned the fact that we wanted to send our kids to daycare in one of my most recent videos on this channel, and there was a comment that said, I can't believe that you guys have the option to not put your kids in daycare. This is just me summarizing a bunch of different comments, and you're still going to put them into the system. You're not going to see them grow up. You should spend every moment with your kids that you possibly can. And then another one was saying, I can't believe you're going to abandon your kids at daycare. And it's like, I really don't think that putting them in daycare is the end of the world. I think that it's actually very positive. And I think that with all of the reasons that I've stated in this video, I think it's going to be beneficial for everybody. And I really do look forward to it, because as an individual here, I'm sort of struggling, and Mrs. Brixie is exhausted at the end of the days. So when I come home, I'm exhausted, she's exhausted, and it's just like, we're both physically and mentally like, oh my gosh, this is just so much. Oh, like it's a lot, right? So it's going to be extremely beneficial, and I hope that the kids are going to love it too, I hope. So yeah, that's sort of like where I've been at lately. I've been battling this this sort of loneliness here for quite some time, and I hope that this is the solution moving forward, because I am drained myself as well. I am drained. Mrs. Brixie is drained, and I really do look forward to just, I don't know, just making things better than they already are. It's undeniable that things are good, and I have a really good job, and I really enjoy doing what I'm doing, and I have fun every day. But that doesn't mean I'm not exhausted, and that does not mean that I'm mentally exhausted, and does not mean that I'm mentally like 100% there, if you know what I mean. Like I'm good, but it's like I could be a little bit better mentally. That's the reality of it. But look at this curved road system I just built. Doesn't that look cool? So we got the half straight. This is where the bicycle lane ends. Pretty cool that I just built that while having a conversation with you, hey? That's the half straight. Bicycle lanes ends there, and that's why I put this ramp there. I made the ramp dark bluish gray because I didn't have the light bluish gray curved slopes when I was looking. And we're gonna go place that in the city. So I was working on today, I was populating the Lego city, but I was also doing a bunch of other stuff, and unfortunately I don't think I'm going to be able to get that other stuff done. So it is what it is, because it's already like late. I'm tired. I was doing some other stuff this morning and this afternoon. You're dropping the kids off at daycare today, and it's 5:47 already. So now I'm left with the choice. Do I go home and see my kids, or do I not? Or do I continue working to try and get a video out for Brixie that's a Lego City video? And that's sort of like the mental burden that I face every day. It's like, I could continue working. I could get a Lego City update done for the Brixie YouTube channel, because I haven't got the Brixie's channel or video done yet. I've got part of it done, but not all done yet. I could continue working until 9 o'clock, or I can go home and see my kids before they go to sleep. And it's a mental battle every day. Whereas if my kids were at daycare, and Mrs. Brixie was here, well, we would have doubled our labor hours and we would have got it done. And I would feel more comfortable in my skin because thank goodness we got the Lego City update done that I really wanted to get done today. That's done. And Mrs. Brixie was here helping me, so we got her done. And now I can go home, we can go pick up our kids at 3 or 5 o'clock, and we can spend 2 hours of quality time with them, or 3 hours of quality time with them, or 4 hours, or whatever, however many hours it might be, before they go to sleep. And I feel accomplished because we got something done. But now it's like, I'm faced with this dilemma every single day. It's like, do I go see my kids or do I continue working to get this bloody Lego City update done? And it's just like, it's exhausting. I'm 100% exhausted. Like, it's just like the crude reality of it. So a lot of people go on about Lego, or not Lego, but YouTube burnout. It's like, dude, I am exhausted. Like, there's no way around it. And I face this every day. This camera's being glitchy. I face this, I think about this all day, every day, stuck in my own thoughts, all alone here. And it's like, I got to keep grinding. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. But then it's like, okay, I also have to go home and have to see my kids. So it's a dilemma. Like, it's a dilemma. And I really think that this whole daycare shenanigans is going to fix all of those problems. And that's sort of where I'm at. So this was a section of road that was just sitting there, incomplete for so long. And I just crushed it out. Much better. So now it turns right there in front of the pet store, and we've connected it in front of the hospital there. Looks like I've got to fix up some mills work in there and decide what I'm going to do with that half base plate. And it all connects now. So it's good. Still got to build my bridges and stuff for the canals. But I'm glad that I was able to get that done there with you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Brixie Talks. I got a little bit deep there for a second, but I think there's a bigger, brighter future with Lego bricks in the near future here in the Brixie studio. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this one. I am working on placing minifigures right now. I was dealing with some other stuff as well today involving a bunch of cardboard boxes back there. Stay tuned for that because I am revealing what's in those cardboard boxes in a future Brixie Talks video as well. I'm having a lot of fun with this channel. It's just something I can take a little bit more casually, I feel. And I'm hoping that I'm hoping that we can continue this channel and just continue making things better with more help and more systems integrated into our family. And I think it's just going to improve everyone's sort of quality of life. It's my children, Mrs. Brixie, and also me. So, and it's also going to improve the Brixie content as well, just because we're going to have undeniably more assistance in creating epic awesomeness. All right, farewell, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.